Let's pick up on the markets now, and it's a mixed bag on the local index as currency moves this morning after a flat close yesterday. Markets closing in the red on Thursday amid that dismal U.S. corporate earnings results. Matete Thulare is head of foreign exchange execution at Rand Merchant Bank. He joins us now for a quick update on how the markets are shaping up this morning. And Mr. Thulare, good morning to you. A massive weekend ahead. But let's focus the attention on the markets and the Rand strengthening against the US dollar to end what has been a volatile week. What's driving those market moves?
Good morning, Colin. Happy Friday. And just like the rugby, the Rand has been a roller coaster. I mean, touching firmer earlier levels of around 1890 this morning, recouping the losses from the previous session. Now, with a lot of focus turning to the medium-term budget statement next week from Minister Godongwana on the 1st of November. Now, the market is gearing up for the medium-term budget statement on the 1st of November when the country's public finances will be in the spotlight. But I think besides the focus being the 1st of November being the budget, the US Fed decision later on in the evening on the 1st of November, that will also be quite critical for the Rand. And the market will be waiting for guidance from the speech from Jerome Powell in terms of the interest rate announcement. And also the 3rd of November, that will also be quite crucial given the fact that it is the US jobs figures coming out. So next week it is going to be really a roller coaster ride, and the Rand will be in for a rough ride next week. And I suppose at this point in time, like we are seeing ourselves, we're close to that 1890 level. We have been trading in an 18 Rand 70 to a 19 Rand 30 range for the past couple of weeks. I think next week, once we do have all of these event risks coming to the table and playing themselves out, then potentially we'll see the Rand either breaking above that 1930 or breaking below the 1870 level.
Yeah, let's talk gold prices. They poised for a third consecutive weekly gain today as the Middle East conflict keeps investors drawn towards the bullion. Help us make sense of those developments.
Yeah, look, I mean, gold has surrendered in early advance after the U.S. growth numbers that we saw yesterday came in stronger than expected. And I think that is now muting the demand for, gold, even though the geopolitical tension in the Middle East continues. Now, you saw U.S. GDP accelerating to about 4.9% in the last quarter. Now, that is the fastest since 2021, but the focus still remains on the Middle East after Israel briefly raided the northern Gaza Strip before withdrawing. Now, what you've seen since October the 7th, after these attacks started, gold has risen by close to 10%, and there's concerns that the high conflict would obviously impact the wider region, which is crucial to the global energy supply. Now, gold will be a function of what is happening from a geopolitical perspective there in the Middle East, as a lot of things are still escalating. And obviously, where gold is trading at this point in time, it is because of the geopolitical risks. We're only $20 away from 2,000 ounces per ounce. So I think it is going to be quite interesting, given the fact that with all of these things happening, and obviously what's happening from a US Fed perspective and global central banks, what is going to happen over the next few weeks will obviously determine where gold prices go. It could also still go back to that 1900. It could potentially break above 2000. At this point in time, given the amount of event risk, it is anybody's game.
Let's talk company news. MTN hitting its weakest level in more than 2 years. This is on the back of, I think this has been an ongoing conversation now. It's got to do with that 1 billion Rand Nigerian tax demand. Are we still there?
His largest wireless carrier. I mean, that is now, they are saying that they're reviewing the demand by the Nigerian tribunal for unpaid taxes. Now, if you cast your mind back, MTN has a history of impasses in Nigeria, and they were victorious with their conflict in 2020 when the government dropped the $2 billion claim for back taxes after a 16-month battle there. And then also recently in Ghana, they had to abandon the $700 million back tax bill against MTN that the company disputed. Now again, MTN has been ordered to pay about $72 million, according to some documents and verified by 2 government officials there. MTN has come out with a statement that they are going to be reviewing the decision of the tribunal, and they will comment on this when they release their trading update later today. So obviously, quite a lot of compliance and risk for them in obviously West Africa. As we said, they do have a history of navigating these scenarios. On the back of that, you have seen the share price take a bit of a beating, obviously at 2-month lows, but nonetheless, I think they do have the necessary skill and experience to try and ratify all of these issues and make headway from some of the countries.
Let's conclude the conversation with Anglo Gold, which is set to pay SARS 4.5 billion rand to walk away from South Africa. What's going on there?
Yeah, so between today and Tuesday, Anglo Gold Ashanti will pay the revenue service about 4.5 billion in taxes. This is part of the transaction for them to move their corporate domicile to the UK and their primary listing to the New York Stock Exchange. This will see them, unfortunately, finally exiting South Africa. Now, it is a dividend withholding tax bill of around 4.1 billion rand, and they will also pay securities transfer tax of around another 350 million rand there. So that equates to about $240 million worth. But I think it will be slightly lower given the exchange rate impact that we've seen there. But for the revenue service, given where things are, this will be a welcome boost for them, given the amount of pressure that we've seen in terms of revenue collection and obviously the lower growth that we are seeing, and also the depressed commodity prices and the impact of load shedding having an impact on the corporate profits across the board. Beyond the tax, Anglo Gold Ashanti will also pay a number of consultants, accountants, lawyers, and other experts in part of this whole restructuring that they have been doing. When we just looked at the figures up until the end of June, that figure had came about to $14 million worth of advisory fees that they had been paying. Expect this number to actually be higher by the end of the year. The taxes in South Africa, due to this transaction, will obviously mean that at this point in time, everything, lock, stock and barrel for Anglo Gold Ashanti will move offshore. This means now that everything will be owned by Anglo Gold Ashanti PLC, which is obviously the new UK holding company. And obviously, as we said, this is them finally exiting South Africa.
Sure. What happens to our tax base? Well, yeah. It's tough times. All right, Matete Thulare, thank you very much for that markets update. Head of Foreign Exchange Execution at Rand Merchant Bank.